My name is MadilynBailey.
I'm Wendy.
I'm Annie.
My name is Kristen.
My name's Lindsey Stirling.
Cheryl Noah, nurse detective is what we called her. She is my grandmother. My grandma was an absolute gem of a person. She lit up every room when she walked into it. She's fiery, sassy, kind of nosy. Likes to know everything about everybody, cannot keep a secret to save her life, but she is one of the most compassionate people I've ever met, and she changed so many people's lives, including mine, and I just feel super honored that I got to be her granddaughter.
Zach was my son.
And he was my brother.
Well, my first memory was when he was born. But I think just knowing Zach his whole life, just memories of him growing up are significant in my head because he was a very unique child, a little different than the most.
My dad was always such a huge role in my life. Ever since I was a little kid, he was, of my two parents, kind of the more creative one, always picking up his guitar and learning songs to play for us. The best dad that you could ever want. He was always a cool guy, and I always really looked up to him.
Gavi was my best friend. He was also my keyboard player, and we toured together and basically lived on a bus together for 4 years straight. I don't think I've ever connected with someone the way I connected with Gavi. We understood each other, and I think I laughed around him more than I've ever laughed in my life.
When I heard the news of my grandma's death, I was actually in China. I was on the way to sound check. I was in a little black Sprinter van, actually with my keyboard player, Bonnie. And I just finally gotten Wi-Fi. I'd just figured out how to work, and a bunch of texts dinged on my phone. I looked at them, and immediately was just, yeah. It's very hard to read them. I knew that she was going in to have a mass on her lungs biopsied, and we didn't know what it was. When it came back as positive for cancer, and then they tested further and found out that the cancer wasn't just in her lungs, it was also in her bones, they gave her probably 3 months. And so she was always just such a fighter, and so my initial reaction was just like, she's gonna fight this. She's gonna get through it. She's gonna go through chemo. I'm gonna go home for a couple months. I'm gonna help her through it. I'm gonna take care of her. But about 20 days after she was diagnosed, she passed away.
Well, I was there because my husband and I found him.
My husband and I were planning on going to Eau Claire that day to get just some stuff around the house, and they were actually gonna watch the boys, and I had gotten a text from her saying, we need you to come over to the house. We need to talk to you, and my heart just dropped then because I knew.
I was actually in a writing session, and I stepped out to answer a phone call, and it was such an unexpected statement for, it was one of Gavi and my mutual friends, and he just said, "Lindsey, Gavi's dead." And we had just celebrated him coming home from the hospital and him beating cancer. And I was like, this is impossible. I was just at his house because he's better. He's better. But I got the news that he died. And I don't remember anything else besides falling to the floor. And everything else is a blur after that. But just that thought of I didn't get to say goodbye, and I'll never see him again. I'll never get to talk to him again. Literally right after my best friend passed away, I found out that my dad had cancer, and he died, the next year.
I got a call from my brother, which was really weird for me. Me and my brother have a great relationship, but we typically don't reach out to one another by phone. And it was just like, I don't know, you just knew something was wrong whenever you saw that name pop up on your phone. My dad was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's B lymphoma, stage 4. He got the call on his 55th birthday when he was out with one of his best friends. He went in for really one treatment and passed away on December 6th. So it was, you don't really have a moment to get used to anything when it's happening that quickly.
I was lucky enough to be able to have one final conversation with her before she passed away, and she was she was just making jokes like, you know, Madilyn, dying isn't any fun. And that's how she was even to the final stage, and I just remember her repeating over and over, oh wow, Madilyn, this went so fast. This went so fast, and I had so much fun, but she's like, this went so fast.
Pretty much just fell to the floor, and my husband kind of had to try to carry me out, but I wasn't leaving, so the police officers came and carried me out of the house. But thoughts were, it finally happened this time, because it's been, he threatened it so many different times and had tried it so many different times that we just knew that someday it would happen, and that's when it did.
You know, kind of the same. We all feared that that would happen someday, and that we hoped it was a phase that he would maybe get through, and you know, we thought we would be able to help him get through this, and you know, just see the other side, and you know, so then getting that call and that text and knowing, you know, that's why we knew it had happened, because you know, we had been fearing it for so long.
I think the hardest thing for me about losing my grandma was just, she was such a huge part of my music. She was my biggest fan. She held nothing back. She literally had a shrine to Madilyn, is what my parents called it, in her house. Every album I'd ever released, every postcard I'd ever sent her. So she was definitely my number one fan. And so when she passed away, I couldn't turn to music. Because every time I would strum a chord or sing a song or try to write something, it would remind me of her. And I couldn't get out of that mindset. And so for the past, I would say 6 months, I wasn't able to write a song. I was barely able to film a video. I was barely able to sing a song, which for me was so, I felt guilty, and it felt wrong, because everything else in my life, anything else like super difficult, I was able to turn to my music. At least I had that, and I could write a song about it, and it was my therapy. But in this case, because she was so connected to my music, I like lost a bit of myself, and it took many, many months to get myself to a place where I properly processed it all and was able to write a song again. But I can tell you, I am back to writing songs now, and they are way more meaningful than they've ever been.
I don't even hardly really remember the days following. It seemed so unreal and surreal to me that people just kept coming to the house, and it just, I don't even hardly remember planning arrangements or anything. I don't remember being at a lot of that. It's like an outer body experience of just not wanting it to be real, but it was. When somebody dies from cancer, you can blame cancer. If somebody dies in a car accident, you can blame the accident. But when somebody takes their own life, there's nobody to blame, so you try to blame yourself, but you can't really blame yourself. So that's been my biggest struggle, I think.
I think my biggest struggle is just, you know, the guilt of it. You just kind of feel guilty all the time. What could I have done? Is there something I could have said? Is there something more we could have done to involve him in anything and help with anything? And so it's an overwhelming sense of guilt that you feel, and it's hard to get rid of.
You know, it was kind of like within a year I lost the two most important men in my life. And that changes you. Like, there's no way it can't, you know, and in a way, I remember feeling like there was a part of me that was forever lost, like this naive, kind of rose-tinted glasses version of Lindsey. I felt like she died with Gavi and with my dad. And that's a hard realization, to feel like a part of yourself that you loved left with the people you love. But it's really been incredible, and it's only been in the last few months, you know, and Gavi died over 3 years ago. My dad died over 2 years ago. But it's been really amazing that within the last few months, after feeling all these emotions and working through some really hard things and going through all the weird guilt that comes with grief and the regrets and all of that, coming out the other side realizing that that person is still there, that Lindsey that I loved and that I thought was gone, that she's still there and she's come back, but with a whole new sense of depth.
When everything's going right, those seem to be the most difficult times when you're dealing with these types of things. If anything else is going wrong in your life, it's easy to just get mad at that one particular event or person. But it's a weird feeling when something is going so right, for some reason your body stops you sometimes of wanting to enjoy that happiness, just because not everyone's there.
The advice that I would have for somebody who has just lost a loved one who's very close to them is to take each day one day at a time. If you got out of bed that day and you put clothes on and you went to the grocery store, very much about all of the small victories, all of the little things I can get myself to do every single day. And then every day I see a little bit more of myself coming back. I guess I would just say to really lean into the pain, really feel the pain, and take whatever time you need to process it.
I think that loss is something that all of us are going to experience someday, and it's, you know, when it happens to you, it's really hard. But don't let your grief take you into a place where you can't come back out of. And it's really hard when you are so consumed by it and you're so sad. But, just find things that can help you in the end. And I miss my son terribly. First thing I think of in the morning, last thing I think of at night. But I know that I have other things in my life too that I'm happy about, so that helps me.
If you're feeling upset or sad or depressed or hurt or anything, to reach out to somebody, because even if you don't think it, somebody cares. You know, a lot of people do, and I think it's important that people know that.
There used to be an end of day goal all the time, and now it just kind of feels like there's an end of life goal. And the day goal is just to enjoy that day and support the people around you. Surround yourself with what seems like family in your work environment and your friends. And
I think loss can sometimes make us feel hardened at first and like we've been scarred. But I think those scars fade and then turn you into like a really soft person in the best way possible. They make you tough, but it doesn't have to make you scarred. The empathy and the growth I feel like the empathy that I've gained through losing people and the closeness that my family's gained through losing people is so powerful. And it's now something that I have learned to be grateful for, even though I wish of course it didn't have to come this way. I feel like there's a reason for everything. And I feel like in the end we will have everything. I know we'll see our loved ones again. And I'm comforted by the fact that this life really is just a glimpse of everything that we're meant to experience. You know, we gain experience through these things, and in the end, I believe we'll have it all. And it'll be beautiful.